So, I started watching the Mayfair Witches on a whim because mainly I was going to watch a discovery of witches, as I've seen a lot of recommendation clips on YouTube. But for some reason, I really wanted to watch the Mayfair Witches. Also, I came across the name Mayfair doing some research on another being, which is over on my blog, and I just thought, why not? And because I just watched it on a whim, I didn't realize that it was actually ongoing and currently airing. Like, I just seen season two. It had like 5 episodes, and I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe it's just a shorter season because sometimes, or well, it's been more popular now, especially with anime, that the seasons are cut in half. Like Outlander was cut in half, kind of like what they started doing with the Hunger Game movies and Harry Potter, where it could just be one full season, but they decide to milk it and take more time for the production, even though the production is usually of lower quality after the second half, much like a lot of people said about Outlander. But regardless, I didn't know that it was an ongoing show. So, as a result, I am actually reviewing season one of the Mayfair Witches and basically half of season two because I've seen up to episode five, the most recent episode at the time of recording this. So, if you don't want spoilers, I guess just hang out and come back to this review at another time. I heard the Mayfair name when I was researching a particular demon's history and I guess lore and popular culture because a lot of the demons and a lot of the angels have basically it's just Bible stories. A lot of popular media, whether that be well-known Bible stories or the Apocrypha or hidden texts, it's just everywhere at this point, and it's in everything. And sometimes the names are the same, sometimes they're literally changed into something very similar, or it's the same story and just the names are changed. Much like Harry Potter is basically alchemy of earlier centuries with a lot of real life people. And then we have things like, what's I going to say? Assassin's Creed, which is a lot of real world history just inverted and told through the Templar or the Masonic point of view. And kind of like the Constantine family of Sandman.
I've known your family for centuries.
Well, there's not one of us who can be trusted.
TV show, and I believe Lucifer as well. That TV show has the Constantines and the Belmont family from Castlevania, the famous vampire hunting family. The Mayfair family seems to be a historical, supernatural legacy family, and it's found itself entwined with our current popular media. Whether this is intentional or not remains a mystery, although it probably is just soft disclosure at this point. And I noticed that, especially in the second season, because the first season you can't really tell where it's going because Rowan is bedazzled by all the supernatural and witchy things happening around her. But especially in the second season, you can tell that this focuses on the great work of alchemy, which is a similar theme to Trevor Belmont's story in Castlevania, the Netflix animated version, because I haven't played the video games yet or looked into the video game lore much, but I do know a bit about Dracula from other research, and it seems like that kind of lines up with how the Mayfair Witches is going. So basically, the great work, for those of you not familiar, is an alchemical term which is used to describe the conjoining of two human souls, a male and a female, respectively, in one body. So it's similar to the Knights Templar and, by extension, the Masonic secret orders, if you believe that. Their worship of the Baphomet, which is the idealization of the hermaphrodite, which is basically embodied in Cortland's inverted son Jojo. So again, this happened in season one. It wasn't revealed until season two that Jojo was actually inverted. But in season one, we see Jojo. I immediately thought it was a man, but these days you can't. I mean, Trump did have that order where it's just two genders now, but these days you can't really point out if somebody's a man or a woman without backlash from people, which is very weird. But so I just kind of, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, that's a man. I don't know if the actor is a transgender or what's going on with that, but it was revealed that yes, that is Jojo is a transgender male to female. And given the discussion I've been seeing online about the handsome women of European royalty, and then we have transgender celebrity sons and daughters, I have to wonder if this is some sort of like magical ritual that is less about the sacrifice of a son or a daughter for fame and power and more about the fulfillment of this sort of Hegelian dialect of Hermetism, which is the hermaphrodite embodied, and it gives one the nature and then the power of both sexes to create a new sort of more quote unquote improved entity in the body. And in season 2, we have that private discussion between Cortland and Jojo, which Rowan eavesdrops on, where Jojo thought that Cortland accepted his decision to become a female because it made him happy.
That all you wanted was for me to be my most authentic self.
Really, now Jojo believes that her decision was accepted because Cortland knows that the Mayfair family is a matrilineal line, and in order to have power in that family, you have to be a woman because the power is passed through the female line.
You wanted a daughter because in this family, daughters are more
not
powerful.
true.
Jojo, can I talk to you?
So Jojo believes that her father was cool with him turning into a woman because it meant that Cortland would receive more power because he has a daughter as opposed to a son, which is essentially useless in the Mayfair family. And then we have even Cortland's father, Julian, kind of embodying the great work, let's say, with his relationship with Lasher after Carlotta rejected him as a child. As a teenager, Lasher came to Julian, and Julian was super sassy.
Who's this?
I mean, if you've been watching over the house for this long, you should already know.
I bet you'd like to talk to him.
Why did you do that?
Because I can.
And talking to Rowan about this in his Victrola, I think the name is. And it's kind of weird too because Julian definitely has that sort of duality nature because through Cortland's memories we see him, and Cortland and I think Stella was his other sister's name, who was the like apparition bound to the house. We see that like Julian was kind of a tyrant and his kids did not like him, and he was a very harsh man. But then when speaking with Rowan about Lasher, Julian seems pretty fruity. Like he is absolutely the belle of the ball. But then we have again Cortland's memories juxtaposed with that, and going to Dunleith and meeting his brother Ian, and you know, I think the family said that was it Julian tried to steal power away from his sisters by becoming the designee, even though Lasher apparently is the one who chooses the designee, and they both have to agree. But it's like this dichotomy of Julian embodying both male and female characteristics, and at the same time he doesn't really lose himself, and he learns about the old ways through his grandmother, his great or great whatever grandmother, and he doesn't think that's odd or like belittle her, but at the same time he belittles the hell out of his son Cortland as a weak male. So it's very interesting, and that again is the sort of, I don't want to say Hegelian dialect again, but it's sort of the hermaphrodite sort of great work at play with the duality of both his personalities, the male and the feminine and the female, at work in order to hone his power more as a witch and gain power in the Mayfair family. And also just about Dunleith, I looked up the etymology of Dunleith, and it's Lady of the Dun or Lady of the Fortress. And Julian tells Rowan that Dunleith isn't like a sort of nice little quaint medieval village, but it's a medieval fortress that was blessed by pagan spirits. And again, the name is Lady of the Dun or Lady of the Fortress. So, also in Celtic lore, Dunleith is the daughter of Connacht warrior. The Connacht warrior. I'm probably butchering these names because Celtic names are weird like that. Regamon, Regamon, and it could be anglicized as Dunla. And interestingly enough, in Lord of the Rings lore, there was a place named Dunland. Interestingly enough, in Lord of the Rings lore, Dunland, or Fortress Land, is a place inhabited by sheep, presumed sheep farmers, herdsmen, and hillsmen known as Dunlings. And George R. R. Martin and J.R.R. Tolkien both take heavily from the occult, Celtic, and Albion mythologies. So I'm wondering if there is some truth to this fortress that Cortland and Julian speak of. But going forward with this, there is, I guess, the 13th witch who is the gateway or who is the key, or they said some specific phrase, I can't remember. But starting with Suzanne in the late 1600s, Lasher has bound himself to Mayfair women for 13 generations. And Rowan is the last one who is able to birth Lasher into the real world and give him a body. And she has 4 extra chromosomes due to the incessant inbreeding of the family. And this also puts Rowan in the same sort of sphere as Lasher genetically, because he even mentions to Deidre that Rowan is just like him, which we didn't know what he meant at the time because that was season 1. But in season 2, we see he also has the 4 separate chromosomes, which could be because Rowan birthed him, or it could just be because he always had them, because apparently he is a Teltos. And also, that scene really gave, I guess, Lasher, Ashlar, growing up, gave a lot of Renesmee Cullen energy.
I'm here to deliver him.
The human pregnancy and growing and all the weirdness surrounding that. And when Lasher's reborn as Ashlar, he has a lot of human memories of a past life.
Well, I grew up near a church. I love music. And sometimes when I fall asleep, I see a veil being lifted and then the face of a girl.
But very few of his previous demonic one.
Are dreams memories?
They can be, but not always. Tell me what you know about yourself, Lasher.
And if you look up the etymology of Ashlar, it's basically just a large square cut out of stone, and it's a building. It's used in building the foundation of a building in masonry. So the stone of Dunlaith Castle or fortress could have been used or comprised of ashlar, just as ashlar has symbolically and literally been the foundation of the Mayfair family's wealth and power as witches. So I think the name is just a synonym for his role in the Mayfair witches' lives and in their family, especially since he was taken to Scotland by Albrecht. Is his name Albrecht? Yeah, Albrecht and Julian in their sort of concocted Dumbledore Grindelwald secret plan to fulfill the prophecy. So just the last bit, which is a little weird to me, but I mean the show is weird. It seems like Lasher, Ashlar, whatever you want to call him, was going around seducing the Mayfair women to try to produce another heir. I don't know if that's part of the prophecy or if he's just a weirdo, since they kind of compared him to the vampires who are also in New Orleans, which is old Egypt.
Mississippi is right there.
I prefer snow.
Louisiana and Tennessee, Mississippi, all that's Egypt. And Anne Rice seems to have a real hard-on for Egypt. And vampires are supposedly originated in Egypt, so it makes sense that all this other nonsense would be in Egypt, and then Haiti, which is known for witchcraft and voodoo, and well, I guess the Netherlands too, because they mentioned a Dutch branch. I don't know about all that now, but Lasher was going around seducing the Mayfair women because he thought that they were quote-unquote strong. And he said that in his previous life that only he can handle Mayfair women. And
I want to kiss you.
they all end up dying after his encounter. And I didn't understand why, but I guess it has something to do with the chromosomes because he has 4 extra chromosomes. They're not compatible with his body, even though they are stronger because they're Mayfair women. And also, it's this weird thing how Lasher tried to seduce Rowan.
I could tell you.
Okay. Tell me. No. Don't ever do that.
But I love you.
Don't ever do that again. Ever.
And Rowan obviously wasn't with it because she just gave birth to him, and it's just weird because that's biologically her son, but at the same time it's not, even though it was her lover in his past life. It's very weird. But the thing is, if he has to reproduce for this sort of prophecy, who's he going to reproduce with, since Rowan and himself are the only ones with the extra chromosomes? So it's very weird.
I don't want to be transformed. I just want to be me. But you aren't that yet. Not without us.
I'm mildly curious, well, I should say morbidly curious, to see where this actually goes for the remainder of the season and what they're doing with the storyline. But let me know your thoughts. Do you like season 1 of the Mayfair Witches? Are you enjoying season 2? Do you think it has some real world lore applied to it? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye bye.
I don't think Rowan would like her.
Then don't tell her.